All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a review for the series premiere for a brand new series on Netflix. This will be for Season 1, Episode 1 of The Rain. All right, and if you guys haven't seen this episode yet, you can watch it on Netflix. It is live right now. It is pretty much a brand new series that has just hit Netflix. It was May 4th, 2018 was the release, so last week or so. And you can watch the whole first season online. You guys know how it goes with Netflix series. Pretty much the way it goes with me, like I'm doing a review. This is for the premiere, so I'm doing a review right now for the premiere episode, the first episode from Season 1. And yes, I'm well aware you can watch the entire season, but in order for me to do videos, I gotta basically do like one video for the review, and then I can go forward. And if I watch the whole season, then I can do a review for the whole first season, which is not too bad for this one because the first season is only 8 episodes long, so it's not it's not too bad. It's not like you got to watch 20 something episodes to do a review or something like that. So I might do one. I might do a review of this whole first season of this series. So this series was heavily promoted by Netflix. There was quite a few ads for it, and there's been a bit of anticipation for it. I wouldn't say it's the most hyped series release ever, but it was pretty big because it's got a cool premise. The premise for The Rain is basically, I'll read it here from the wiki. 6 years after a terrible virus carried by the rain wiped out almost all humans in Scandinavia, 2 Danish siblings, Simone and Rasmus, emerge from the safety of their bunker to find all remnants of civilization gone. So basically, you pretty much have a thriller type of series here, which has an apocalyptic type of kind of theme to it, in that something has happened to the rain, and very few people knew about this prior, but the father of Simone are 2 kind of leads in the series. Simone and Rasmus was a scientist, so he had access to some bunkers and secure locations in case of some kind of viral outbreak or something of this sort. And so he had the heads up knowing that this was going to happen. So basically, she's in school kind of doing her thing and getting ready for some kind of test or something. And her dad pretty much barges in while she's kind of hanging out with her friends. Basically grabs her and tells her, we need to leave right now and you all need to go home. Tells all her friends to leave. And pretty much races to this secure location, races to this bunker in order for them to avoid the oncoming rainfall, which is your transmitter of this virus or whatever this is that's causing everybody to basically be wiped out if they ingest or they're either hit by rainfall, they ingest any of it, or possibly it is contagious between them as well too. Between people that are infected, they somehow can transmit that to other people as well too. So it's some nasty stuff in this one, and you pretty much get to see the first episode. You go through. It begins with regular kind of life of her being in school, her dad coming and getting her. You hear stuff going on the radio. You see the rain clouds kind of coming in. He's freaking out, driving super fast. Gets into a car accident, and then they have to go the rest of the way on foot to the bunker, which they do make it, and they all, the family goes inside. So there's 4 of them to start. You get the dad, the mom, and then you get the 2, the kids there, with Simone being the elder of the 2. So it starts off very exciting. It's a very exciting start to a new series, which is what you want. For a premiere episode, I'd say this episode has just about everything you'd want to see in a new series. It grabs the viewer's attention forcefully at the start. It's intense. It's got swearing, some F-bombs at the beginning. You've got, which is always fun. You've got just this high-paced, type of pacing that even I'm not used to. So this was a Danish web television series, right? So it is dubbed over into English. So heads up for that. People who hate the dubbing, I did notice it after a little bit. What that means for you guys who don't know is basically the series was shot in a different language, of course, in Danish, and is dubbed over into English. So the voices don't always match perfectly with the movements of the mouths. Like if you've ever seen anime and you've watched a Japanese anime that was dubbed over, and it doesn't always fit exactly. So if that annoys you, then it might annoy you in this episode or in this series. But I felt like after the first maybe 20 minutes of the way through this premiere, so just before half really, that I stopped kind of noticing it after a little while. And that's, I'm used to that because I've seen, watching anime since I was like 5 years old too. So it's something that, I know it does turn off some people, so I'll mention it here. But it's not too bad in this, and I think that the series does have enough to warrant watching, even if, they did have to dub it over into our language so that we can watch it and enjoy it too. And not only just the language, but the pacing of it is different from what we're used to. It's quite a bit different. To compare it to anything else I've seen, it probably feels most similar to me to 28 Days Later, if you guys have ever seen that, where you have kind of the crazy zombies or the crazies that kind of get affected, through the blood transfer or whatever, and they just kind of rage out. They get the rage virus and they rage and go nuts. And from what we see, because we don't get to see that much of it in the rain, we only get to see like a couple people in that state. And, I guess we'll go into who it is because, again, you can watch the episode now if you want to anyway. And it's just the first episode. So even though minor spoilers, well, there are spoilers here because there is like a character death in the premiere here. Not everybody survives. So if you're worried about that, maybe pause me, watch The Rain, the first episode, and come back after if you're worried I'll ruin it for you. But basically, the two kids get in. The dad goes out to see if he can find some way to stop it and pretty much never returns. So we're to assume that the dad is most likely dead. But who knows? Maybe some of you guys know better if you've seen the whole season, but he never comes back. So you are to assume at the end of this episode, I think, that the dad is dead or can't return. One of the two, and most likely being dead would make most sense. The mother, so this one kind of pissed me off. Basically, so you have them in the bunker, the three of them, after the dad leaves, and you get some guy that's infected who comes up and is banging on the door of the bunker, and they don't know if it's their dad or not. So Simone opens it, and it's some guy who was stuck in traffic near them that basically is kind of raging out or going crazy because he's been infected by this rain virus or whatever. And pretty much in this one, the mom sacrifices herself in order to save the kids. And it's again, very 28 Days Later, where you get like the twitchy, kind of super fast kind of death and this kind of deal, which is kind of strange to see. Also strange is that pretty shortly afterwards, you have the daughter who's kind of, they get sad for a minute, but then they kind of go, they blast right by it on afterwards with her kind of smiling and dancing and doing weird things like this, where it's like before a time skip. So it's like you probably shouldn't be doing that this early. It doesn't really make sense for you to party or whatever you're doing with your little brother and have all this fun and be smiling all over the place when both your parents just died. Naturally, you would think you'd be pretty sad and pretty depressed. But again, it's a different type of film or different type of series than what I'm used to here in North America, so they kind of blew past that a little bit, which I didn't like that too much because it didn't make sense after such a huge loss to them. You would think that they wouldn't be so happy and dancing and doing all this kind of stuff. But so they go on from there, and I'm wondering at this point, after this crazy introduction, which was nuts, and seeing the daughter do some stupid stuff, but it's okay because, it's near like opening the door when she really should not have opened the door for anybody in this kind of situation. Just wondering from there on out where they're going to go with the show. And it's pretty exciting to see them actually just kind of in the bunker surviving. Some nice time skips here, time lapses where you see them eating the food that they have prepared. And after it seems about 6 years or something like this, they grow and they do look older, which is cool. I love that transition as they're staying in the bunker. You see them when they're really young and then at the beginning, and then they quickly kind of become, 6 years older or whatever it is here until the point when they open and they have to leave. So eventually the bunker runs out, of course, as we're seeing. So the bunker runs out of power, they run out of food, and eventually it runs out of oxygen 100%. So in the end, you get a pretty exciting scene where Rasmus has to drag Simone out because he's smaller, so maybe he doesn't need as much air, and she's kind of passed out because the oxygen's running out. And as he kind of pulls her out, they find out that there's other people that are there, have guns pointed at them with some masks and the whole thing and raincoats and everything like this on to protect themselves and heavily armed and tell them to kind of get back inside, maybe because they're not sure if the two are clean or not, or if they're in danger. So, and that's kind of how the episode, ends. There's also some alarms and stuff like that goes off and things like that. It's pretty thrilling at certain parts. He'll be like sleepwalking, and they'll use that for kind of a thrill part where she walks out and he's like, looks like he's possessed or something. And that's kind of where the episode ends off. Oh, there's also a part where she goes out to check the hospital, which is actually one of the parts I like the best in the episode. Pretty much after all these years, they're just getting very curious. She knows they can't stay there forever, so she goes out exploring at nighttime, actually, which makes it even more thrilling to see if there's anybody at a local hospital who's still alive, if she can find their dad or whatever, and she goes around and she's basically seeing, after the time lapse, just skeletons everywhere, which I did like a lot, because that's something that a lot of times when you have series like this, like I think it's a comedy show, but Last Man on Earth, it's like everybody's all dead, everyone's disappeared, but you don't see bodies everywhere. It's a comedy, so you can understand. But it's like there's no skeleton. There should be like all these bodies everywhere, right? If everyone else is dead except for a few people. In this one, they take it seriously, right? And you do get to see that. There's like just mess everywhere. There's skeletons, there's rotting corpses, there's bodies, but except animals are still doing fine. So you have some deer, you have some rabid dogs. It looks like one dog starts to chase her in a kind of a thrilling scene, and then they kind of skip over it and show that when Rasmus wakes up later, that she is actually returned at that point. When he's actually awake, because she left without him knowing, which kind of bothered me. I'm like, wouldn't you tell him that you're going to leave? But I guess she didn't want to, because he would have tried to go with her or tried to stop her or something. So Stay Inside is the name of the first episode of the series. So I thought this was a very promising and intense, badass first episode of a series. I thought it was really cool. I thought that the score was awesome. The visuals were really great. It felt like a big budget Hollywood movie or something of the sort. A little bit of differences here, like I said, in the kind of the way that they do things versus the way that we are used to seeing things in North America, with the pacing, particularly like certain parts where Rasmus will punch a window really fast. And kind of the way they do it is like it's so fast that it's like even I'm not used to it being that fast. That said, if things have to be between too slow or too fast, if I had to choose one, I guess you may be going with too fast for a premiere to get people's attention and get people engaged in the series, rather than leaving it lackadaisical and then people switching off, is maybe a good way to go. So it does. It's an awesome first episode series. It's attention grabbing. The beginning sequences are really cool. Even kind of the way the raindrop comes down at first, like when you first start to see it kind of start to rain, they do a nice kind of first person. They use some awesome camera shots too, which is really cool to see, in super high quality and everything. So you see the first raindrop kind of drop down as they're coming through and that, and where it's going to land and stuff. And it's pretty intense, man. It reminded me most of 28 Days Later of anything I've seen, I think. And in terms of score, I'm going to give it a 9.1 for a TV series. I thought it was really badass and really intense. And I am looking forward to watching the rest of the first season. If I do, I will definitely, if I complete the whole thing, then I'll definitely do a review of the whole season for you guys. But just because it just hit last week there, so it's relatively new still, and people wanted to hear my thoughts on it, because of course I review a lot of, end of the world type of apocalyptic series, TV series, movies, all that. I've pretty much reviewed almost all the mainstream ones, 28 Days Later, all that stuff. So Walking Dead, or you guys know what it is. So so I liked it. I thought it was awesome, and I'm looking forward to checking out the rest of the season. We'll do a review on it if I watch it all the way through. So that'll be it for my review, guys. If you got a chance to see the premiere episode for The Rain, let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Intense series, and if you haven't seen it yet, I suggest it. If you want to put into that type of show, put an hour in or whatever. It's intense, really a lot of fun, and something really cool to watch. Definitely this summer, especially like Walking Dead's not on and that. So it's a great series to check out, and very promising. I'm not sure if they're going to try to do another season of the show eventually. Really don't know about that, but I definitely think if they want to, depending on how they ended the first season, they should, creatively, I would think they should be able to get another one. It's definitely good enough to deserve more than one season. So that's what I think, just after seeing the premiere. That'll be it for this one, guys. If you'd like the review, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, subscribe at the bottom left. Click the bell to turn on the notifications. And that's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another review. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.